welcome back to Pia Talks, and today we are back for more true crime. We are covering Obsession, Dark Desires, Season 2, Episode 7. But before we get into it, if you have not subscribed, please support my channel by subscribing, giving me a thumbs up, and hitting the notification bell so that you can always be notified when I post new content. So on to Obsession, Dark Desires. So I saw this episode a couple days ago and I thought, what in hell? I had no idea. What would I do? What would I do if this was happening to me? How would I react? And I can tell you, I would be a complete mess. At the same time, I think I may have made the situation worse because I'm so emotional, and when I feel threatened, or if I feel that a family member or friends are threatened, I can sometimes be irrational. And I think that if this situation happened to me, I would have lost it and somebody would definitely get hurt. A lot of times when I do the true crime ones, I do try to Google some of the participants in the crime episode and try to see if things match up. Majority of the information completely matched, but every now and again things were tweaked a little bit, and you know how they usually say they tweak things a little for dramatic purpose. So when things are a little bit different, I'll go ahead and tell you about that. Some of the messages, I will add those to the video so you can sort of see what some of the messages were. You'll get what I mean in a second. Okay, so in this episode, the story is talking about a lady named Tara. In real life, her name is Tara, but her last name is different, and I'm just gonna leave her last name out. In the story, there's a friend of hers whose name is Harley. In real life, his name is Gerald Farr II. For this review, I'm just going to keep calling him Harley, because otherwise, as you have seen in other videos, I would go back and forth, back and forth. At some point, I was totally confused, and I'm pretty sure that probably confused other people too. And who wants to do that? So this takes place in South Carolina around Thanksgiving of 2008. Tara and a bunch of her friends and family, they meet up at the Buffalo Wild Wings to watch Clemson's game. Her daughter goes to Clemson and they are huge Clemson fans. So this was really serious for them. And this is something that they do every year. It's an annual thing. They go out, they hang out, they have a few beers, they eat a bunch of wings, and they root on their favorite team. This particular year, Harley joined them. It turns out that Tara has known Harley for 20 years, and 3 years prior, she dated him for about 8 months, and the relationship just didn't work out, but they continued to be friends since they've known each other forever, since high school. While they were at the game, she looks up and she notices that there's a guy there who's staring at her with a weird expression on his face, and she says to herself, well, I don't know him, so I don't know why he's looking at me this way, but she decided to just turn around and mind her business and let it go. By the time the evening was over, she could not find her cell phone. Her and her entire family, they searched the restaurant, they asked the manager, had anyone turned in a missing cell phone, and the manager says no. On her way out, her friend Harley tells her that he's got an extra cell phone and she can have it. So she thanks him for it, and she goes home, she calls her cell phone provider, she turns off her old phone and has the number transferred to her new phone that she received from Harley. A little background on Tara. She's a very positive, happy-go-lucky type person. She's very helpful. She's caring. She's a nurturing type of person. So that fits perfectly with what she decides to do for a career. She actually decides to be a nurse. Not only is she a nurse, she's actually divorced, and she's a single mom of 3 daughters. She just bought her own home, and she's super proud of herself. And I mean, she should be. Single divorced woman of 3, gets her nursing degree and buys her first home on her own, and she's still in her 30s. Hey, that's something to be proud of. As she's thinking about her missing phone, she's thinking about that guy that was staring at her, and she thought, maybe that guy stole my phone. She just could not let this go. Why would somebody steal her phone? Late that evening, Tara's laying in bed and she's half asleep, and all of a sudden her phone rings. She looks at the phone and the number is coming in from a non-registered number. She says that she does not answer unknown phone calls, so she puts the phone back down on her nightstand, and the phone continues to ring. So once the phone continues to ring, she decides to pick it up. Now on the show, she says that no one says anything. However, in researching the case, it says that when she answered the phone, Linkin Park's song Shadow of the Day was actually playing in the verse where it says, "Sometimes goodbye's the only way and the sun will set for you." I don't know that song. At least I don't think I do. But I can tell you what, that would freak me out quite a bit. First of all, it's an unregistered number, and then you keep blowing me up. And when I finally answer the phone and say hello a few times, all I get is this verse from this song? I'm not ready for the sunset. No. Don't call here. The next day she goes into the hospital and she works in an ICU unit that works primarily with prisoners, and she works the 7 to 7 shift. She started to think a little bit, is it possible that one of the prisoners that I've cared for has gotten out of jail and is now trying to stalk me, trying to harass me? She just didn't have a clue. She says that entire day she was just looking around, trying to see if anybody was acting strange or odd. But then when she got done with her shift, she went home and all she wanted to do was get a little rest. And she made a few phone calls and then she turned the ringer off on her phone. She says that the person continued to call, but not only were they calling, they actually started sending text messages around the clock. The first text message she received was an actual picture of herself, and she figured, wow, this person definitely has my phone. The second text message was a picture of a tattoo that not many people know that she has, so she was also sure that person had her cell phone. It got so bad that this person just could not let go. They continued to text her around the clock, day and night, till it got to the point where her thing was to automatically turn her phone off. The text messages started coming in and they were telling her where her kids were, where they had been, when they got home, what they were wearing, what she was wearing. That right there would have freaked me out. She said at one point her daughter, who goes to Clemson, came home for the holiday, and as soon as her daughter walked in the door, she received a text message saying that her daughter had just walked in the door and what her daughter was wearing. Yeah, no. This means that this person is sitting out around your house somewhere. Otherwise, how would they know who just walked in your door, what they were wearing? Oh, that just sends chills. Nope. At this point, she decides to respond to the text message. She asks the person, "How do you know so much about me?" And the person tells her, "You could find out a lot about you online." So she goes to her laptop and she Googles herself. When she Googles herself, she realizes that a lot of information about her popped up. And she was completely shocked at all the information that could easily be found about her. And it brought her back to the prisoners that she helps at her hospital. She said if they see her name on her name tag, which is clearly displayed, they could possibly Google her and find out everything about her. And now she's so afraid that it is an actual criminal that she has helped who is harassing her now. Then she receives a text message from the stalker telling her if she can figure out who they are, they'll give her $25,000. And she replies back to them, "I don't want to know who you are. I just want you to leave me alone." She then texts the stalker and said, "What do you want from me?" And the stalker replies back to her, "I want to control you." No, sir. Oh no. Control me. And that's pretty much what she said too. Tara said, "Oh no, nobody controls me. Absolutely nobody. I'm divorced. I'm independent. I own my own home. I'm raising my children. Nobody controls me." I think her first mistake was she says that she didn't tell anybody. She was embarrassed. She was afraid that people were going to think that she was a person that starts drama, causes drama, that she has a lot of problems in her life, and she didn't want to be that person. So she decided to just keep it all into herself. And I say that's your first mistake. You have got to share with people so that other people know what's going on. They can be on the lookout for you. That is exactly what I think criminals want. Criminals want us, you. People, they want us to hold everything in. They want us to stress and be scared and not share. My advice is to tell everything. Out of nowhere, the text messages and the phone calls start to come during her working hours. As she is working, she is getting tons and tons of text messages and phone calls. So at one point, there's a nurse that works with her named Trina, and she just goes ahead and tells Trina what's going on. And Trina tells her, you need to tell our HR department. We need to try to help you figure out what's going on. And she tells Trina no, she doesn't want to tell anybody. Please keep her secret. So Trina agrees and she keeps the secret. Then one day while she's at work, she receives a voicemail from the stalker because she's not responding to phone calls or text messages because she's at work. So on the voicemail, it's Neo's song Closer. The stalker wanted her to know that they were getting closer and closer to her. Whew. No, I'll never be able to get down to that song the way I used to now. Yikes. Then at some point, the stalker gets her home phone number and starts calling her at home. Can you imagine? They're already harassing you, bombarding you with cell calls. You turn your phone off. You're in the privacy of your own home, your safe place. The phone is off. So you're thinking, wow, I can relax. I can get comfortable. My doors, my windows are locked. It's all good. And then your home phone rings and you pick it up thinking it's your girlfriend, Martha, and it's the stalker. Nope. That would bring tears to my eyes. I mean, can you believe it? So this has been going on now for 10 days. 10 days into this craziness. And Tara goes to her office Christmas party. All of the whole ICU is at the party. They have gotten the ICU covered by other doctors and nurses, and they are there having a good time. This is the first time in 10 days since the calls and text messages started that Tara is actually happy. She is smiling. She is not thinking about any phone calls, any text messages. She's dancing, she's laughing, she's having a few drinks, she's enjoying her coworkers who are also her friends, and her phone is inside of her purse. She takes a moment to go to the restroom to freshen up her makeup. And while she's freshening up her makeup, she realizes that she's received several phone calls and several text messages. She opens up the phone and there's a text message stating how beautiful she looks at the Christmas party. Then the stalker sends a picture of her at the Christmas party dancing. Nope. No. Whew, it's time to go home. It's time to go home. But on the way home, it's time to slide by the police station. They are open 24 hours. What? She instantly freaks out and she starts to believe that her stalker is a coworker. This place is only filled with people who work in the ICU. She goes outside of the bathroom and she freezes. She looks at everybody in the party who is minding their business, not thinking about her, not checking any phones, nothing. Who is it? None of these people are looking at her or caring one iota about what she is doing right now. So she is completely shook. And I would be as well. The very next day, she receives a phone call from her mom. Her mom tells her that whoever this stalker is, they now have the cell phone number of her parents. And they are texting her parents and sending pictures to her parents from her cell phone. As she's talking to her parents, her daughters tell her mom, we too are getting text messages with pictures of you, and the text messages say you're a whore. So then she finds out that some of her friends have started to receive phone calls and text messages photos. She's a whore. What? Oh my gosh, the stalker has my cell phone and now he's reaching out to everybody I know and he's telling them that I'm a whore and sending private photos from my cell phone. I'm telling you now, all those pictures that you don't want people to swipe to the left for, get them off your phone. Get them off your phone, because you never know when somebody's going to swipe your phone and then all of a sudden they've got all kinds of blackmail material. Yikes. Even though on the show they didn't say they were racy photos, but they said that the stalker was sending photos, private photos, and calling her a whore. So I would have to assume they were little sexy photos, little boudoir photos, you know what I mean? So she calls the cell phone company, asks the cell phone company if it's possible that they could block this number from calling and texting her. The cell phone company says there's nothing that they can do about it. So she goes to the police, but the police were not interested. They were not interested in looking at her phone. They let her file a report and go on about her business. It turns out that over the next few days, all the text messages and phone calls that she received, she ended up going to the police station every other day to file more and more reports. Then she went to the phone company and she bought a new phone, a brand new phone. She got a brand new number and she only gave the number to her 3 children, her parents, and her 2 siblings. Those are the only people that have that number. But that didn't stop anything. The text messages still continued to come. The stalker was able to get her new phone number, and the calls and texts continued, even to the point where the stalker sent her a message saying, "You thought you could get rid of me. You thought you could hide." This is the point where I'm checked into Bellevue. Just go on. Check me into the mental hospital, because now I am freaked out. I am scared. I can't get rid of this person. I am losing it. I'm going crazy on the inside. Yep. Check me right in somewhere. By the 3rd or 4th police report, one of the detectives on his time off came over to Tara's house. He sat down with her and asked her to give him the full story. He wanted all the details. He wanted to see the text, the pictures, everything. She tells him the full story and he tells her to bear with him. He is going to figure this out. He will get the person who's doing this to her, and she should just be patient with him. He gives her his private cell phone number and tells her to call him day or night if anything should happen or if she needs anything. She still can't shake the idea that it could be somebody that works with her or somebody who is one of her patients who is a prisoner. And she starts thinking that she works in the ICU and it's a lockdown place. You can't get in there without somebody actually physically letting you in. And one day she's on break. Her and a couple other nurses are sitting out talking, laughing, and joking, and she receives a text message. And the text message from the stalker tells her exactly what they're wearing, how many people she's talking to, and repeats verbatim what their conversation was about and what she just said. So she knows this stalker is here watching me right now at work. So she runs out to the front and her friend Trina is there. She says, "Trina, did you let any strangers in, or have you seen any strangers?" Trina says, "This is a hospital. Everybody's a stranger." And she says, "Yeah, you're right." But right when she's talking to Trina, the stalker calls her. So Trina grabs her phone and she tells the stalker, she says, "Leave my friend alone, or I have a 9 that wants to meet you." And the stalker hangs up. Not a good idea, Trina. Well, this pissed the stalker off. So the stalker decided, "Oh, really, Trina? So I want to get to know you better, Trina." The stalker starts calling and texting Trina crazy amounts of time and giving Trina intimate information about herself. Trina is now freaked out. Next thing you know, Tara has no other choice. She has got to tell HR at her office. Trina is involved now. So she goes to HR, she tells them what's going on, and they tell her that from now on she has to be escorted by security or she has to be within a group of nurses to leave the building. One day she gets home from work and she notices that she's got some personal items that are missing. And she thinks, well, maybe my daughter took it. She's home from college. So she asks her daughter, hey, do you have this stuff? And she's like, no, I don't have it, but come here. Her daughter opens up her laptop and it's full of porn. So her daughter says, clearly your stalker has been in the house. They've been in here, stole your missing items, and playing around on my computer. She is shook. All the doors and windows are locked. There has been no forced entry. How is this person getting in their house? I hate to say it, but until this person was caught, I would have to pack my kids up and go. I mean, I would be so stressed. My hair would be falling out. I wouldn't be able to sleep or anything. Her friend Harley, who was at the Buffalo Wings with her, stops by and asks her what's going on. So she sits down with Harley and she explains everything that's going on with her, how upset she is, the porn, the breaking in, all the text messages, knowing so much about the kids. And Harley says, come to think about it, my bike got knocked over the other day. And she says, oh my gosh, Harley. She said, I got a text message the other day that said something about me hanging out with that biker guy. And she said, oh, the stalker probably did it. And Harley is concerned. He offers to stay at her house to protect her and her daughters. And she tells Harley that no man is moving into her house or staying the night at her house that's not her husband. So thank you so much, but no thank you. One night she decides that she's going to be a little stubborn. She didn't want to call security to walk her out to her car, and she didn't want to interfere with any of the other nurses. So she decides she's just going to walk herself out to her car. Well, as she's walking out to her car, she hears a gun click. And she knows a lot about guns because she used to train with her grandmother. She gets completely freaked out and she takes off running. They offered that security for free for a reason. No, ma'am. Don't be so independent that you end up dead. If you are in a situation like this and they offer security, you need to accept it. On the 24th day, she decides to sit down with her friend Trina from work. Trina lets her know that she's still receiving text messages as well, and she just got a really odd one that said, it's a good thing your glass doors are locked, otherwise I'd be inside meeting you. What? Trina, who is going through a divorce, she's separated from her husband John, gets John on the line, and she tells John, you need to move back in here because somebody is stalking me. So John, who's a military guy, he comes right over. And he has Tara come over. Tara gets there and John says, listen, this cannot keep happening. Your crazy stalker is now stalking my wife, and we don't do that here. So we are going to figure out who this is. We don't have time to play around with the police. The police have to go through the courts to figure stuff out. We do not. I said, hey, John, I like him. He asked her for that phone number that the text messages are coming from. She receives a call from her friend Harley, who tells her somebody has just tried to run him off the road. She tells John and Trina, oh my gosh, the stalker has now tried to run my friend Harley off the road. They are even more determined that they have to figure out who this is. So she gives John the number. John and Trina pay some service to look up the number to figure out who this phone number is registered to. Because maybe if they can find out who the phone is registered to, they can give that information to the police and the police could try to figure out what's going on. Once the search is done, Trina tells her the cell phone number is registered to a guy named William Redmond. He is on death row in Las Vegas for killing his 12-year-old daughter. Tara loses it. She absolutely breaks out into tears and falls to her knees. She is freaked out. She has 3 daughters that this person knows their schedule. So she calls the detective, and the detective tells her that information can't be right. And if it is, the person has this set up to look like this because death row inmates don't have access to cell phones. December 27th is Tara's parents' anniversary, and they always celebrate the anniversary and Christmas on that day. The whole family get together and they go out in the country to Tara's family's home. It's always a very festive, a very lively situation, but this time Tara was not festive or lively. So her brother asked her if she wanted to go outside, get some air and talk. So they go outside. They're sitting out there, they're talking. She's not telling him everything because she's trying to keep most of it to herself. And then her phone rings. Her brother says, "Is that the stalker?" And she says, "Yes." Well, he picks up the phone, he answers the phone, and he says, "Who the hell is this?" And he starts going off on the person. The person hangs up on the brother, then sends her a text message that says, "Who is the bald-headed prick you're sitting next to?" Oh no, now you're at her parents'. This person is at her parents' house. So now you have followed her to her parents in the country. Well, the next thing you know, her brother takes off. He takes off looking for the person because he knows they're around there somewhere. She runs into the house to tell her family to call the police. Then she jumps in her car and she tries to search the neighborhood for this person. The police scour the entire area and don't find anybody. Oh my God. The next day, she meets up with John, Trina's husband, to see if he could figure out anything. Has he figured out anything? She wanted to also let him know what happened the day before over at her parents'. And while she's talking to him, her daughter calls and says that her and her sisters want to go out to lunch. And she says no. John says, "No, let them go. Don't let the girls suffer because of this situation. If you let them go to lunch, I'll keep an eye on them." And so she says, okay, it's fine for them to go to Applebee's for lunch. Well, while she's at home, John is at the Applebee's watching her daughters. They have no idea that John is there, but John is just making sure that this stalker does not hurt or approach these girls. So John texts her, "Have you heard from your stalker lately?" She says, "No, I really haven't. My stalker must be asleep." And he says, "Can you text your stalker right now?" And she says, okay. So she sends a text, but she gets no reply. So John texts her back and he says, "Did you text your stalker?" And she says, "Yes." And he says, "Did the stalker reply?" And she said, "No." So then he sends her a text message and he says, "Can you text your stalker this verbatim?" And she gets completely freaked out and she calls John. She says, "What's going on? Why would you ask me to do that?" He tells her, "Calm down, relax, your girls are fine. Just send him a text message saying what I told you to send and send it now." So on the show, he tells her to send a text message saying, "Hey, are you wearing white sneakers, blue jeans, and a hoodie?" But in real life, he asked her text, "Hey, are you wearing a dark blue polo shirt?" And she got no response. Then John calls her and tells her everything's fine. The girls are fine. They're on their way home. I'm going to follow them home to make sure they get home safely. I'll talk to you tomorrow. That was it. I'm thinking if I was Tara, I'd say, no, John. I'm going to need some more information. Why did you ask me to text that specifically? What is happening, John? Then the next day she gets to work and the director of the hospital asked her to come into his office before she could even get clocked in. When she gets into his office, Trina is in there and so is her mother. They tell her that they need to meet John down at the police station because yesterday when he was at the Applebee's monitoring the girls, there was a guy leaning up next to a car watching the girls, watching their every move, and he was wearing a blue polo shirt. And he said every time that he asked her to text her stalker, the stalker would take the phone out of his pocket, read the message, and then put the phone back in his pocket. And then when he asked her to send that specific text about what the stalker was wearing, the stalker read the text message, threw the phone back in his pocket, ran to his car, and peeled out. What was he about to do? What was he going to do to her children? Oh no. They head on down to the police station, right? And the detectives gives him a 3-person lineup after he describes what the person looked like. Second person he saw, he picked the person out. And when he picked that person out, Tara said, "Are you 100% sure?" And he says, "I am 98% sure that this is the guy that was watching your daughters." Tara breaks down. Turns out the guy that is stalking her, humiliating her, scaring the hell out of her is her trusted friend of 20-some years, Harley, who was really Gerald Farr II. Yep. Harley. Bitter bitch Harley. That breakup must have drove him over the damn edge. Oh my gosh. What? She was absolutely stunned. He had been lying about that stuff happening to him. When the police went to his house to arrest him, they found photos of her, videos, porn. They found bank records, cell phone records, and a zip drive where he had gotten into her house, copied her entire computer hard drive, including all of her passwords, phone numbers, everything that she needed, account information, everything. And how he was able to get in and out of her house is because her back door had one of those keypads where you punch in the code to get in, and he had seen her punch in her code so many times. He knew it by heart. Oh my God. They charged him with 5 counts of stalking and sentenced him to a measly 2 years in jail. And with good behavior, he was out in 8 months. Can you believe it? Luckily, Tara says that she has not had any issues with him since, and she hasn't even seen him. But one thing she said that she made sure of, she hooked back up with her grandma so that she could get back out on the range, learning how to use her weapons. Because if Gerald/Harley ever tries to don her door again, she's got something waiting for his butt. Can you believe it? This dude, she went to high school with him. She has known him for over 20 years. That just goes to show you. Like people always say, you never really know a person. You never know. She trusted this guy. Remember earlier I said he offered to stay at her house to protect her and her daughters? What would he have done? Can you imagine he knew the keypad entry number? This dude could have came into her house day and night, even at night while they slept. Ooh. Doesn't that freak you out? Lord have mercy, I am not all right with that. Anyway, I'm glad nobody got hurt as far as physically. I'm glad her kids are safe. She is safe. Her life has moved on. She's fine. She says every day she takes one step further to being healed, and I'm happy for her. Everybody survived. And I think everybody should be on the lookout for Gerald. Really, I went out online and he's got a LinkedIn photo where he does some kind of construction or repair. No, sir. I don't want you doing construction or repair anywhere. Dear God. Anyway, bye, Gerald. And until next time, bye.